Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to The Book Refuge. Hi friends, and today I wanted to bring you a quick underrated author recommendations. I have both some historical and then some contemporary / paranormal authors to bring up to you, and I won't go like too deep into theirs, but first I have just a little bit of a discussion to talk about first. So these authors that I'm going to share now, you may have heard me talk a lot about them, or maybe you're brand new to me and so you haven't, but a good amount of the authors in this list are ones that I have read good amounts of their books, but I feel like they haven't been appreciated enough. Like, they're authors who aren't necessarily making it into the top 100 on Amazon, or if they are, it is very low down on there. They're ones that I don't see many other booktubers talking about. Maybe they have, but usually the ones that I see talking about them are like my friends, and maybe I got the recommendation of one of them from one of my friends, but otherwise I haven't seen them really take off anywhere. But again, your mileage may vary. Some of them you might feel like I never shut up about them or other people don't, but they're all ones that I want people to either take a second look at or give them a try. Maybe because they, maybe they don't have the prettiest covers, which will be specific for one of them, or maybe they don't write within the genre that you're the most comfortable with, but they're authors that I want people to give a chance to. So I'm going to go through. I'm going to start with the historical authors because the romance readathon is going on right now, and I know a lot of my peeps are focusing on historical, and so I want to bring some authors to your attention that you might want to try. And one of these authors, I want to read more. Well, I mean, all of them, I want to read more of them. But this author I read a few years back, and I was listening to their books on audio, and I actually still need to finish the one series. But this author writes mostly like erotic or dark historical romance, and this is Victoria Vale. So the series of hers that I have read and enjoyed is The Villain, and this actually starts with kind of a Dark Beauty and the Beast version where the heroine's, I think it was her brother or her father, has wronged this man, and she really needs him to stop coming after her family. So she literally on her own goes to his home and is going to try to get him to change his mind, and she has just delivered herself to him. So he decides that if she lets him kind of defile her and do whatever he wants with her for a certain amount of time, then he will pull back his vendetta, which of course he's not planning to do. It's straight up when we get in his POV that he just wants to ruin her, use her for what he wants, and send her on his way and still continue his plan. But of course, he starts to fall for her while he does. So the way this one works too is the first two books and a novella is about this couple, and then there is actually the sister to the hero who also has a romance that is kind of like a friends to lovers one, but they both have different dark aspects in it. There is trigger warnings that go with these, so definitely check out the books. Specifically, there is some like dubious consent and like deflowering stuff that's going to go on, but I remember having a great time with these. The audiobook was very good. So yeah, and then I also on my Kindle, I haven't read this yet, but she also has one that has a dominant heroine in it, and a hero who wants to be broken by her, shall we say, that I really want to get to, because I think it's about novella length, so I want to maybe try to squeeze it in during this month for the romance readathon. Then I'm bringing up the author that I myself will admit I've only read one of her books, and I started a second one and I never got around to it. But this one book that I've read is one of my favorites of all time. It is a 6-star read. I adore this book so much. And so, but it has the most hideous cover you've ever seen. All right. It has a horrible cover. Let me grab. But recently, my friend Mel, who is the one who has bound all the fan fictions that I have, she made me a new cover for this book. So I'm going to show you this beautiful cover, and I know you're going to want it, but you can't. It's a one of a kind. So anyway, this book is Eyes of Silver, Eyes of Gold by OConnell. And this book, she writes Western historicals, and this book just moved me so much. So I definitely have some other books by this author on my TBR, but this is a 6-star read. I love it so much. These two are forced into proximity with each other by some really bad people, including her own family. And then they're both kind of just like left for dead. Well, for sure the hero's left for dead. And the heroine nurses him back to health, and then they go forward from there. So yeah, this is on Kindle Unlimited. You'll be able to get it. Again, not this cover. The cover you're going to see when you go on Amazon is this one. Yes, this is the original cover of this book. Okay, so this is what you need to look for, and I highly recommend that you just read it on your Kindle, and then you won't have to look at it, right? You don't have to look at this cover. You can just read the book, and you can pretend that it looks like this, because this definitely inspires much more of the story that it is. And Mel, if you're watching this, I so deeply appreciate that you did this for me, and I treasure this book. I will treasure this because I needed this beautiful cover to be on this book, and I wish that Ellen OConnell would get some new covers for her books, because they all kind of look like this style. And don't we deserve a style like this in one? Like, don't we deserve this? We do. We do deserve that. So anyway, Ellen OConnell, I am recommending this author, and I wish she got more love, but also you can see probably why. Those books don't get a lot of attention, because we're all a bunch of cover whores. You know it. Whether you love a discreet cover or you love a Manchester, a couple cover, you still are looking for an aesthetically pleasing book, and that it ain't it. It ain't it. So I understand. All right, next we have an author who definitely has some aesthetically pleasing covers, and it's one that I just reused this author for a Step Back Saturday, even though it is it's a clinch cover. I used it anyway. So this is Donna Fletcher. This is the book that first got me into Donna Fletcher, Bound to a Warrior. Yes, these two are literally bound together with a chain, and he's without a shirt. They had jumped in a river, so they're dripping wet and just beautiful. And this book, they're stuck together in the beginning. They're both trying to escape from a king, and they are trapped together. And they are they need to get back to his family so they can hopefully be unchained from each other. And it's beautiful. So this is the first in, like, I think it's like the Four Brothers series or the History of the King. I can't remember what it is, but absolutely love this series. And then this series this one is also Four Brothers. I don't remember what this one is either. The series names are always so weird. This might be the family name. This one might be the Sinclair brothers. That might be it. But this is the first in this one. And this series I really enjoyed. I actually liked this series the best. I liked this one too, but I liked this series the best. And this one has Honoria, and she is supposed to be put into a marriage to Clan Sinclair, but she was engaged to the next in line, but he has been gone for years and he's thought dead, so she's supposed to marry his brother. Well, then this man returns. He's escaped from the barbarian horde that was holding him captive, and when he gets home, he discovers that he's supposed to marry this girl. So they end up being forced to marry each other, even though she was planning to marry his younger brother. And then it goes from there. So Donna Fletcher, most all of her books that I've seen are Scottish. I think they're all like medieval too. I believe these all take place during like the medieval period. Okay, well this one's the 1500s. And this one, yeah, this one is medieval. This one takes in the year 1000, which is crazy. I love it. I love it. So yeah, I adore this author. I've read quite a few of her books. I still have a few left to get through, but she's not writing anything new. So it's one of those authors that, you know, you just fall out of the talk when you're older. So I have one other author who the covers are probably going to scare people away. But again, if you are reading for the Romance Readathon, these books I think are all over 500 pages in this series. And I can't remember the series title, I'll put it up, but these are the two books I've read by Susan Finetti. They are Viking historical romances, and they both have lots of brutal and very realistic, painful things in it. There is the like kind of the system of they would go raiding and they would take slaves from other Viking clans and like force them to work for them. But this first book, which I think is God's Eye. Yeah, I think God's Eye is the first one. And it actually has a female warrior who ends up falling in love with a warrior from there. He's from like an alliance clan in the beginning, but they're only really temporary alliances. So to fall in love with this man would be probably not the smartest move. But also she's going to go after, well, he's going to go after what he wants. Let's say that. She is just happy to, you know, have a place within this clan and be appreciated. And he's really like, I'm going to go after this woman. Like, she's what I want. And, you know, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I'll take it. It's what I want. This is what we want. So, yeah. And then I've also read the next one in this series as well. I still have 2 more to go. I actually purchased this entire series, which it isn't in KU, so you will have to buy it. But it was recommended by Pam Godwin a few years back. And the writing is so powerful and the stories are so gut-wrenching and beautiful, and also very unique because it's not like any other historicals that we really read. So yeah, if you want to try something new, something that doesn't feel like everything else, I highly recommend it. And that's really too what I'm doing with these authors, is I feel like they're underrated because they don't necessarily fit into some of the same categories as other, you know, romances we read. You know, like not a lot of us read Westerns anymore. Not a lot of us read the Scottish Highlands anymore. I think Donna Fletcher might be the most like other authors you might have read, but some of these other ones I don't think that they are. And then the last historical author I want to point out is actually Daria Vernon, and I forgot to grab the book of hers that I own, but the first book I ever read by her was The Highwayman's Folly, and this was actually her debut book. So Daria has, I think, 4 books out. She has 3 historicals and 1 kind of like paranormal one, I believe. And so there is The Highwayman's Folly, and then I can't remember what the second one is, but these ones are you know, a bit more in your normal historical route. But even the heroine I love, I believe she's like 30 and she's a spinster, and she's going to be like forced into a marriage to her like grandmother or aunt's steward. They're trying to force her into a marriage, and they end up getting held up by a highwayman, and she gets kidnapped and taken to the Highwayman's Folly, which is also a hideout. She gets taken to this hideout, and they have this very interesting like interactions with each other, and some chemistry happens, and then she gets brought home, and it isn't until a few years later that she meets up with him again, and now they actually maybe have a chance to be together now, but we'll see if it works out. So yeah, and then she also is the one who has the Get Thee Off My Lawn, which has to do with swans, I think. I really want to read this one. I know Jessen loved this, and I think that Smart Women Read Romance podcast is going to be doing this one soon, so I really need to read this one. But I have read the 2 books in another series. And then her one that is paranormal, I think, has to do with like, it was in an anthology, and it has to do with like a plant monster or something. I can't remember, but I think it was, yeah, I can't remember what it was called. But anyway, so I want to try those. Okay, moving on to some contemporary, and then there is some like paranormal in here too. There's actually a good amount of paranormal in here, but the other author, the first author I want to mention, which this is the one where kind of why I made that disclaimer at the beginning, that they're definitely authors that I talk about all the time, and for me, that's going to be Claire Kent. So I discovered Claire Kent back in 2020 when I first read Last Light, and then I read her entire, I've stayed caught up on her series about this is a post-apocalyptic world, and I just love it. This is the hardcover. I also have the paperbacks in the series. I love this series so much. And so I read this and I was like, who is this author? What is she? So she also has some contemporaries, and that one's kind of dystopian. So there's Escorted. This is a male escort romance where he gets hired to take this woman's virginity, and they become kind of like regulars with each other. And then this one is a surprise baby. And so it's just a contemporary surprise baby, but it was absolutely gut-wrenching and like such a beautiful story between these two. That it just really, really moved me. This really moved me quite a bit. So I really loved this book by her. So those are the Claire Kents that I've read, and I just highly recommend her. A lot of her books are in KU. Not all of them are. Some of them are, you have to like pay per book, but the Kindle series for sure is in KU. So definitely check that out. Then I wanted to mention another, or a paranormal author, which is Lillian Lark. She has some really fun like novellas, as well as a series that is her like monster. It's like the Bathhouse monster series that has different, there's one that has like a kraken, and there's the one that's the werewolf and the lake monster. She also has a serial killer romance as an FBI one that I really liked. And so a lot of hers are like quick and spicy, but also really emotional too. Like she had one that was a basilisk one that was an MMF, and that one was so beautiful. So she has another book coming out later this year that I'm so excited for. Heather Guerrero, she is an author that I discovered through this series, which is the Tooth and Claw series. So these are paranormal romances. So this first one is a werewolf romance that takes place in a small town in Alaska. The second one, Hot Blooded, is a vampire romance. The third one, which I can't remember the title of that one's another werewolf romance. And there's a fourth book in the series coming later this year. So I really love this. I say this every time I bring her up, that this reminded me of like Twilight fan fiction if you wanted Team Jacob. I also have read one of her contemporaries, which I can't remember the name of it, but I'll put it up here. And this one was a femdom romance and a billionaire, like a Russian billionaire. And I really liked it because he's still a very kind of like powerful man, but he wants to be dominated. And this woman that he meets, she gives him, like, he can just tell that she would be able to give him what he wants. And so he approaches her with the possibility of being his dom, and I love how it played out. Just, it was really good. So yeah, that was Heather Guerrero. Then, this is an author too that I think you may have seen more of her than I, like some of my other friends have read her books too, but I'm obsessed with her stories. Like, I just absolutely love this series. I'm all caught up in the series, and I can't wait for her to put out more because they're just so good. But that is going to be Lana Perchak. She always says how to say it, and I always say it wrong. Let me look her up. It is Perchak. Lana Perchak, I don't know, but it's great. She is an author and actually an artist too. So if you ever buy either the paperback or the hardcovers of hers, all of the drawings inside her book, she has done them. This is all her art, which I just think is fantastic. I know she has a Patreon, and she has many other series that I have not read that I want to. She has the Scholar and the Sinner series I want to get into. So yeah, I really have been loving her books. There are audiobooks for the first 5 are on AnyPlay, and then I just had bought these books and got the audios off of Audible because they were part of the KU, so I could get them for cheaper. So yeah, highly recommend her. And then, of course, the last author that I gotta recommend, and this is someone that I've been talking about nonstop lately, so it might seem like, Jen, this person is hyped enough, but they're not. Because I haven't seen enough of my other friends who love mafia romance try this author, and I don't get it, okay? I'm telling you, if you love mafia romance and you like it a bit darker and spicier, but also still with good, like, mafia world building, you've got to try Jagger Cole. Okay, I've been reading his most recent series. I started with Deviant Hearts, and then I've read Vicious Hearts, and then I've actually read arcs of both Sinful Hearts and Twisted Hearts. And the next one, Stolen Hearts, comes in September, and I'm just obsessed with how he writes his male and female, like his male and female characters. I love them so much. I love how he writes sex from the male perspective in these books. And so I'm slowly working my way through his backlist. I wish to God he had audiobooks. I want him to start doing audiobooks so badly because I think they would just be so epic. I think they'd be so good. But I highly recommend Jagger Cole. Again, I haven't read a lot of his backlist. I want to. He has a Bratva series that I know connects with this series after reading some of the more recent ones. I know they show up. But he has the Kings and Villains series, Savage Heirs, the Bratva's Claim, the Skamali crime series, and then he has some like standalones. And I really want to read more of those. So highly, highly recommend Jagger Cole to you. So there you go. Those are 10 authors that I think are underrated. I will have links down below to a few of the books that I mentioned anyway. If you use any of the links that I have to purchase any of the books, it does help the channel. So please be free and liberal with that if you would. So thank you so much for watching this video, everyone. I hope you're having a great August. If there's nothing else you can do for the channel, give this a thumbs up because that is something, believe it or not. It helps get my videos seen, which is half the battle some days. So thank you so much for watching, friends, and I'll see you next time. Bye.